What is up, YouTube? It is your boy, Kendrick Youngblood. As you can see, I'm rocking out the UH fit, the University of Houston gang, we get it. We're gonna be doing a review of Rudy Francisco's poetry collection, his debut, very first poetry collection titled Helium. All right, so you're gonna wanna make sure you like and subscribe because I got more reviews coming. If you're new to Youngblood Poetry, welcome. On this channel, I might give poetry tips, writing tips, stuff like that. I might spit a spoken word every now and then, or I might do an analysis of, say, a poem that you suggest, or, I might do a review, and guess what? That's what we're doing, all right? So don't forget to like, subscribe, comment below what other reviews you'd want me to make of certain poetry collections, and I'll do it, all right? So without further ado, let's get started. All right, so first things first, if you don't know who Rudy Francisco is, shame on you. Shame. Shame. Nah, but real talk, he's probably one of the most well-known spoken word artists of our generation. I said probably, he definitely is. I'm actually gonna read from his bio, from his website, and that should give you an idea of some of the accolades he's collected over the course of his poetry career. Rudy Francisco has shared stages with prominent artists such as Gladys Knight, Jordan Sparks, Music Soulchild, and Jill Scott. He is also the co-host of the largest poetry venue in San Diego, competes in domestic and international poetry slam competitions, and had the honor of being nominated for an NAACP Image Award. Ultimately, Rudy's goal is to continue to assist others in harnessing their creativity while cultivating his own. Rudy Francisco is the 2009 National Underground Poetry Slam Champion, 2010 Individual World Poetry Slam Champion, and appeared on TV1's Versus and Flow. By the way, something that isn't included in his bio, he's actually been invited by Jimmy Fallon 2 times to perform poetry. I think the first time was in 2018 when he performed Complainers, and in 2019 when he performed Rifle. Before we get into this, I just want to talk about when I met him, all right? I'm a big fan, as you can clearly see, a big fan. I met him, I believe it was a year ago, yeah. A Houston-based poet by the name of Outspoken Bean actually invited Rudy to this event called Pass It On, which is held every other Saturday at the Winston Contemporary Art Museum, which is located in Houston. When I heard Rudy was coming, I was like, okay, I know this place is gonna be packed. I'm buying my tickets. I'm buying my sister's tickets because, we all know who he is. And I even brought my shawty, you know what I'm saying? So I brought my girl, I brought my sisters. I made sure to get the front row. All right? I went to the front row, made sure, but even before the thing started, I think Rudy was going to the restroom or something, and I crossed paths with him, and I was like, look, all right, I know you gotta go do whatever you gotta do, but I just wanted to say, respect, man. I love you, bro. Oh man, I was fanboying so hard, it was embarrassing. He wasn't even weirded out by it or anything like that. Sure enough, I got to watch him perform in person. It's better in person than it is on YouTube. Enough fanboying, let's actually get into the content itself. So Helium was published by Bud & Poetry, which has showcased a lot of his poems through YouTube. During his interview with Book Circle Online, he actually gave his reasoning for the title, Helium. He said that poetry, like helium, allows you to defy gravity, to elevate yourself just for a little bit from your troubles so that you can, sort of process and things like that. It sort of grants him a temporary escape. Topics in this book include wrestling with masculinity, blackness, parenthood, not just fatherhood in his case, but also, his parents and how they raised him and things like that. The speaker's love life, that's a big one. Also racial injustice, man. Wow. And then also growth that one experiences from acknowledging one's flaws and mistakes. As for the structure of the book, there's 58 poems in total, and it's divided into 4 different sections. There's actually a balloon picture at the start of each section of the book, and with each section, the balloon photo gets higher and higher on the page, sort of indicating that as you go through the poetry collection, you yourself are defying gravity, lifting up from your current struggles and being taken away by the poetry, which again fits into his reasoning for the title. I would actually show you some of the poems in the book, but I don't want to get in trouble. You know what I'm trying to say? Also, I want my boy to make money. You feel me? I ain't trying to mess up his hustle. I ain't trying to mess up his grind. You feel me? But if you want to read the poems in this book, you got to buy it and you got to read it. Granted, I'll give you the best description I can of what to expect when you read this. All right. So for starters, the forms for the poems. They all tend to be written in free verse, so there isn't any strict meter or strict rhyme scheme of any sort. Most, if not all, of the poems don't rhyme at all. A significant amount of the poems you might find in this book, if you are a big time fan of his, you'll actually recognize a lot of them as fragments from his spoken word pieces over the years. In fact, some of them are full length spoken word poems that translate really well onto the page. So you have the honest poem, complainers, rifle, and I can go on and on. So I'm not trying to spoil all the poems that exist in this book, but just know if you're a big time fan of his, you'll recognize some of the poems, but that won't make it any less potent, I can guarantee you. Seeing how it translates on the page, it's so good. It almost makes me wonder if when he wrote the poem initially to perform, it wasn't already structured like this. I thought at first that maybe if he included some of his spoken word, it wouldn't look like a conventional poem on the page, but it still does. So that's kind of interesting. As for the length of the poems, they could range from literally one tercet, so a 3-line poem, to even like 4 pages dedicated to one poem. So not only are all the poems written in free verse, each free verse poem differs greatly in form from the next. So that's pretty cool. It's never boring to read. Some poems have short lines, some poems have long lines, some poems have tercets, quatrains, 10-line stanzas. Some are a block of prose on the page, so like just a giant paragraph. And then some are broken up into numbered fragments. A lot of the poems are either anecdotal, in which he tells you a story that usually ties into, mistakes or experiences he's had, or they will be a bit of contemplation about the world around him. Names of actual people can be found in this book of poems, which is pretty cool. He's typically bringing them up to use real-world examples that back up the message he's trying to convey in some of the poems. An example of this would be in Complainers. He brings up the names and experiences that certain people had that were really gruesome, that will make you stop complaining and be content with the life you have. You know what I'm trying to say? So it's pretty dope. I mentioned earlier that he addresses parenthood to some degree in this book, and that is in fact true. He has 2 poems back to back that are related in some way to his parents. One of them actually being the name of his mother, the other being about his dad. And he uses like these crazy metaphors. It's just like, it's really mind blowing. Y'all, you gotta get this book. You won't regret it, I promise. Okay, look, he kills love poems. For those of you who are like, no, I don't be into romance poetry. It's always sappy. They always do some lame Romeo and Juliet type stuff. Look, no. Rudy's different. This man different. He's special, all right? Like, his love poems are mind-blowing. I'm just like, this man could drop the mic on every single one of those poems and I would not be mad. Not at all. Not even a little. Not even a little. In fact, what's really cool about a significant amount of the love poems in this book is the fact that he is actually able to perform them as one large love poem medley. He's able to say them in sequence and it kind of flows seamlessly, So you're actually getting a really good look at his love life. And when you read them, you don't even have to see him perform them all together. If you read them separately, you can see how they kind of puzzle together to tell one complete story. Real talk, something I noticed really early on while looking at this poetry collection is that Rudy low-key, has an obsession with water imagery and water metaphors. Right off the bat, the first poem of the entire book is called Water. And the first poem of every section of the book, mind you, there's 4 sections, so the first poem of every section utilizes a water metaphor to a significant degree. I counted 10 poems out of the 58 that have really potent water imagery and metaphors. And ironically, they also tend to be the ones I consider to have the most depth. I'm gonna see if I can sort of show you what some of the book might look like without you being able to read it. So I'm going far away. But yeah, hopefully this gives you an idea of what some of the poems look like. Some of them are short, some of them are long. You see what I'm saying? But yeah, definitely get yourself a copy. I promise you won't regret it. Helium is capable of reaching any kind of audience. That's the crazy thing. So it doesn't matter if you're a writing poet, you're a spoken word poet, you're not a poet at all, you're not a reader, or like, let's say you're not black, it doesn't matter. Sure, he has poems on blackness, but a lot of his poems can really resonate with anyone and everyone. It's really versatile in terms of who it can reach, Anyway, that's about it. I hope y'all enjoyed. Like I said, I'm sorry I couldn't actually show you any of the poems, but I'm not trying to mess up the boy's hustle, you know what I'm saying? Go to Button Poetry, buy yourself a copy. Don't forget to like and subscribe, all right? Anyway, peace out.